Good morning, and thank you, Senator Durbin, for hosting this hearing focused on rising prescription drug prices. Prescription drugs exist in one of the few industries that do not operate along the normal rules of supply and demand. The blunt truth is that if you or a loved one needs medicine, you will pay almost any price to obtain it. This ability to squeeze every dime from those who need medicine not only fattens corporations' bottom lines, but also leads to the creation of exploitive middlemen as surely as sharks are drawn to blood. One of these middlemen are pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs for short. PBMs harm Americans in two ways. One, PBMs are helping to fuel ever-rising drug prices. And then two, PBMs are killing independent pharmacies, as Congressman Foster alluded to just a second ago. First, I want to get into drug prices. On behalf of healthcare payers like employers and insurers, PBMs negotiate with drug companies, acting as middlemen to create formulary lists that determine which medicines patients can be prescribed. To maximize their own profits, PBMs have implemented a so-called rebate system that requires drug companies to provide rebates based on their drugs' list prices. In exchange, PBMs include these drugs on their formularies. The higher the prices, the higher the rebates, and the more likely that a company's drug gets on the PBM's formulary. The glaring problem, however, is that PBMs do not appear to be passing along the rebates to their clients, namely the payers and ultimately the consumers. Meanwhile, PBM's pursuit of ever higher rebates drives up what they're linked to, namely drug prices. This is not some conspiracy theory. Congress, numerous states, investigative journalists, and even the FTC, as you can see from these various headlines, from even Attorney General Raoul, who's been asking the Supreme Court and other agencies to look into this issue, have now illustrated that this is a commonly understood problem. The second way in which PBMs undermine healthcare is by killing off independent pharmacies. How? Not only do PBMs act as the middlemen between payers and drug companies, they also act as the middlemen between payers and the pharmacies. And they do it in the following way. First, pharmacies buy drugs from wholesalers in anticipation of reasonable reimbursements from the PBM after the drugs are dispensed.
Sorry, what?
However, the PBMs then set these artificially low reimbursement rates. PBMs have engaged in complex schemes to either grossly underpay pharmacies for the drugs they dispense or by instituting clawbacks and what are called DIR fees, direct and indirect remuneration fees. These DIR fees mean that PBMs retroactively claw back money from pharmacies for drugs they have already dispensed in the past. CMS found that DIR fees exploded by, and this is not a typo, 107,400% over the last decade. PBMs appear to be using any and every trick in the book to continue to make enormous profits and kill off independent pharmacies. The result of these clawbacks and underpayments has been stark. The National Association of Community Pharmacists report that almost every day a pharmacy is permanently closing its doors. At this point, 73% of counties in Illinois are now a pharmacy desert, meaning there is not a pharmacy located in that county. CMS acted earlier this year to block the most egregious DIR abuses, but PBMs are still putting relentless pressure on independent pharmacies. Why? Well, surprise, surprise, the largest PBM's parent companies run their own competing pharmacies, which now dispense a whopping 80% of all prescriptions in the country. PBMs have the power to kill off their competition, and they are doing just that. The result of PBM control and manipulation is that drug prices are going up, pharmacy closures are going up, and guess what? PBM profits are going way up. PBMs, I would suggest, stand for pretty big markups. That's what PBMs are at this point. However, there's some cause for hope. Elected officials on the state and federal level from both parties, including in Illinois, agree that PBMs need to be reined in. For instance, we should pass as soon as possible much needed PBM reform legislation like the Bipartisan Pharmacists Fight Back Act. This bill is the most comprehensive approach to PBM reform yet, and I believe meaningful reform of the PBM industry is within our grasp, even within this Congress. Senator Durbin, thank you again for your yeoman's work to lower prescription drug costs and for holding this hearing. I'm honored to have been included. Thank you.